Welcome to Surrender School.
So this was originally the Essential Enneagram Empowered 12-Step Workshop. The last time we went through, I talked about essential meaning basic. It is now, I'm calling it the Exploratory Enneagram Empowered 12-Step Workshop because we go a little deeper now. If you are new to this, you've never been through this before, it's still awesome. I think you'll get a lot out of it. If you went through it the last time and you're back, I think now is the time you get to explore just a little bit deeper, and we'll talk about that. This time around, it's a lot more sharing than it was last time. Last time was just information coming at you. Problem with that is a lot of people view it like television and then they don't interact with it, right? They watch the television just like you do a movie or something and whatever. That's not what this is. This is much more interactivity than that. Okay. So what I want to say is doing the homework is necessary this time around. Last time, a lot of people, and it was fine that you didn't, but a lot of people didn't do the homework. And this time it really is necessary that you do the homework. Otherwise, it's possible that you're going to be lost. The way that we do this, and those of you that didn't get a chance to see the 0-0, the intro to the intro, those of you that didn't get a chance to see that, what we did is flip the classroom, which means the recordings that we did during the last session become the pre-work homework before the session. So you watch the video and you get most of the content, and then we come in here and we explore deeper. Okay, so which I think is works very nicely, I think. Okay, let me go back over here. All right, so okay, so one thing I want to make clear here is ignore the assignment in the video. So you're going to watch the video, and at the end it talks about an assignment, but I don't want you to do that because I've simplified it. So you're going to watch the session video. So the basically step 0 or session 0, you already watched theoretically. And then there's no book to read though. So if you look at the assignment at the end of that video, it says, read the book, no book to read. I based this on Jenner Kay's Enneagram for Recovery book, which is an awesome book. But I'm not requiring, and it doesn't require people to read it. So if you want to read it and you want to buy it, it's a great book. It's well worth reading. But now I'm keeping the assignments much simpler. Okay, so you'll notice basically you're going to watch the video. And then I want this little thing right here, I'll talk about it in a minute, is basically a time frame. It says if you just want to you don't have a lot of time, you don't want to watch the whole thing, you watch the beginning and then you watch for your type and then you can watch the end. Okay, so, or you can skip the end because the end gives you the wrong assignment. All right, so step 1 is you watch the session video, don't read the book, you don't need to do the assignment from there. And then you have 2 assignments, basically the fill-in sheet that you would have printed out and fill in what you learned that week, and then also the weekly challenge. Those are the 2 things that or the 3 things you'll do. You're going to watch the video, and then basically do the weekly challenge and the fill-in sheets, and then you're going to come to the session and you're going to interact. Okay, so that's it. Now, one thing I want to point out too is any effort is 100% acceptable. Okay, the thing I want you to remember though is what you put into life is what you get out of it. If your life is such that you can't do anything but come to these sessions, that's awesome. That is enough, because if your life is so busy or so whatever, wherever you are in your life, it's all good. The thing to keep in mind, what you put in is what you get out. If you don't have time or energy or whatever to put in a lot, just don't expect a lot. It's okay. Any effort is 100% acceptable. It doesn't matter to me or to anyone else in the room. It matters to you. So you figure out how much time that you can give, and just, I guess we're studying that emotional sobriety book, which is, don't have expectations that are unrealistic, right? Just know that this is the way life works. So I want to let you know that. So as much as you can give to this, great. The more you put in, the more you'll get out. Okay, this is the little thing that I talked about a second ago. What this is a time stamp of, so you'll see, right, that type 1 is at 25 minutes. Type 2 is at 27 minutes and 22 seconds, and so forth. I'd like people to unmute, if you would, and tell me if it helped anybody, because this takes me a lot of time for me, and I want to save you time, but I don't want to do it if nobody's using it. All right, the fill-in sheets. Really quickly, I want to talk about the fill-in sheets. All you know so far are these 3 things. You know the passion that was covered in session 0. the recording of session 0, you know the virtue or gift of the spirit, which you get when you're at your true self, and you know the mantra, you know your mantra. So fill-in sheet was Cynthia's idea. Cynthia Joy came over and I was practicing these early sessions, and Cynthia's like, I want a sheet like that I can just fill up for myself. So if you get a chance, thank Cynthia for this, because that's why there's a fill-in sheet. That was a great idea. Okay, so next question is on the weekly wrap-up. And a couple things I want to say. First of all, I've sectioned this entire day from now until 12:30 Pacific time into times, because I want to be sure we can cover everything. So what I have an alarm on my phone set that will go off when it's time to move on to the next section. So this section lasts for a few more minutes. And I want to ask, did you do the weekly challenge? And if you did, how did it go? And once again, the weekly challenge for the one was to draw a picture with their non-dominant hand and kind of celebrate that. 2 was to pick a time frame and do nothing for anyone else. 3 was catch yourself bragging about a past achievement of your children or something and stop and say, never mind, ask the person a question. Type 4 was when you feel a strong feeling in your heart, take it into your hands, put it in a boat, watch it float away. 5 was just to write something that they know nothing about and not feel the need, or at least not give in to the need to research it. 6 was to make a list of the best thing that could happen. 7 was to make a list of the things they want to do that their addiction has allowed them not to do or kept them from doing, or something that they did once they achieved their sobriety. And 8 was to pick a time frame and decide to wait for someone to ask for help before you step up. And 9 was to do some small thing that you've been putting off. So we did that. All right, real quick, I just want to cover the goal of this course is a personal journey. So this is all about you personally. Our focus is to help us understand the relationship between our false self, that ego-driven self, and our true self, and to treat yourself with unrelenting compassion. That means there's an acceptance, you are human. And this is what I learned in the Enneagram. I was like, oh, I'm wired that way. And then not only that, then I would go, oh, guess what? You're human. And one of the people in the class now says, and I love this, it's like, and for me, anger's my deal, right? So it's like, oh, anger, my old friend, I see you, which is completely different than trying to resist, because if you resist, it persists, right? Okay. So we do this by recognizing the unseen forces that drive our behavior. In program, we call those defects. Some people call them defenses. I love the defenses thing. This is the passions. So passion isn't I'm excited, right? Passion is the passion is what causes your suffering, right? And then the fixations are the perceptions, or basically that's the stories that we tell ourselves about whatever. And the way that we do that is we catch ourselves in the act when our ego causes us to act out our most persistent defects. And then finally, to gently remind ourselves that this is not our true self. Our true self is kind and whatever else. Okay. So there are 3 steps to transformation. I just learned this in a session that I went to over the weekend. The first is self-observation. You learn to observe yourself. You catch yourself in the act. That's what that is. That's what that whole last time when we went through the workshop, that's what that was about. This one now is understanding your motives. We're going to go deeper and say, what makes me be like that? What makes me react like that? What makes me think this way, and so forth. And what the thing said is that then you stand on the threshold. This is Adora in Dublin, Ireland, by the way. I love that. Anyway, you now stand on the threshold. And number 3, the third step is presence, being present to your life, and it doesn't mean constantly present, because nobody can be, right? Nobody is. But the times that you can be present, and you can be present, you're observing yourself, you can be 100% present, that is when transformation happens. And I'm right in the middle of learning this myself, so it's pretty cool stuff. Okay, this is what I'd like you to do, and I'm going to give you time to do this. I would like you to rename your number up front. And at least in theory, it organizes all the ones together, all the twos together, and so forth. So no space, just your number up front. If you know your instinct, that's fine to put your instinct in there as well, but you want to put the number up front, a space, you can put a dash or whatever, and then your name. So we see your name, but you'll see a lot of people have their number up front. That's what I want, number right up front. This week, we're not going to do anything where I group people together, but I may. So every time that you come in, rename yourself. And the way that you do that is basically ellipses at the top of your little video screen. There's three dots. Click on that and it'll say rename. Click on that and it'll give you a box to rename yourself. Okay. Now we're going to cover mantras right now. And I have, let's see, about 15 minutes to cover the mantras. So if you'll rename yourself while we start talking about mantras, that would be awesome. And I am going to bring up the mantra and we are going to talk about it. Oops, that's not there. There. Okay. So the one mantra, if you know that you are a one, it isn't always my responsibility. You want to write down your mantra. This is out there, by the way, wherever you, on the website, on the Surrender School assignment page, wherever you see mantra, if you click on that, this is the diagram that you get. So for the one, it isn't always my responsibility. Okay. For the two, ask for what you need and ask again, for the best love comes from a full well. For the three, to get to truth, I must be informed by my feelings. For the four, I have everything I need in this moment to grow, which is what Melissa was talking about. For the five, making contact with my direct experience and feelings will bring greater clarity and knowing. For the six, faith is believing in things unseen. I am guided within. For the seven, focus and staying present are my holy work. I am enough. For the eight, in my vulnerability lies my strength. And for the nine, resolve small things before they become big things, or some people are changing that to basically do the things that are important to you before they become big things or before you completely ignore them. Okay. Of all the things that impacted people's lives the last time through this, the comments that I got back from more people than anywhere else was the use of the mantra. And it doesn't seem like there is much power in that. And I have to say, when I read other people's mantras, I was like, okay, whatever. But when I learned my mantra, and I was in an Enneagram group where they have us introduce ourselves with our mantra, when I did that, initially, mine is in my vulnerability lies my strength. And my initial thought was, what the fuck? What? My strength is my strength. What the hell are you talking about? But okay, I'll say it, whatever. Well, what happened is over time, it's like something in me absorbed the fact that in my vulnerability lies my strength. It actually became a part of me. Now, it probably took forever. I may not with you, but and I'm gonna use you as an example. So when I was going through this, I walked Cynthia and Joy through this early, and so I read her mantra, and she teared up because she would never ask, let alone ask again. Seriously, right? Never. So what happened is it softens you. It basically, on that continuum we're talking about between that ego's driven part that is the passion all the way to the virtue, which is the gift of the spirit, it moves you along that line because and once again, when I read the other people's mantras, okay, they're fine. But to the people, right? So you may not know, by the way, what type you are. And it's entirely possible that you don't know what type you are, even if the test, it's really funny. Michael Naylor, who wrote the Alchemy book, he says, the tests just kind of point you in the right direction, but it is the feeling. It is, wait, this is me, right? That freedom that says, oh my God, I'm wired that way. That's how you know what your type is. Okay. So you do want to memorize your mantra, and I'm going to ask you, and I will remind you, which may feel mean. I'm going to ask you to say your mantra when you share. And as we move along on this, I really am going to say, what's your mantra? I'm going to say that. So write it down and it's out there. You want to say it. So this is the way I would say that. And once again, you have the characteristics of the type. You are not the type. You have the characteristics of that type. And that means that gives you a little bit of wiggle room. So this is the way I introduce myself. I'm Cheryl. I have the characteristics of an 8. In my vulnerability lies my strength. And then I share. Okay. And once again, that sounds very formalized, but it is very helpful because you want to say your mantra and it will make a difference. So now what I'd like to do, and we have, let me see how much time I have. Yeah, I've got about 7 or 8 minutes, and I would love some shares on the use of your mantra. Has it helped you? Right. And I'm very serious about people sharing on that, because then people who don't know their mantra may not believe what I'm saying. And I really like them to believe what I'm saying. All right, so we did memorize our mantras. Excellent. Okay, so the Zen theory says this, and I think it's really fascinating. And this was, I literally stole this slide from Michael Naylor's Friendly Circle Berlin presentation because I really liked it. I free myself not by trying to be free, but by simply noticing how I am imprisoning myself in the very moment I am imprisoning myself. And this is that self-observation that we talk about. And you get freedom because I notice that. And notice the thing about the transformation. The first thing is, oh my God, look what I'm doing to myself. Look at this pattern that just showed up. I see that. And then I'm unrelentingly compassionate about that. Oh, I'm human. Okay. And that is a pattern. And that is a pattern I want changed. I'm going to ask God to change it, but that is a pattern. Good. And then the next thing is, okay, what triggers that? What causes that? Whatever. That's where we're at right now. And then presence, being present to it is when the transformation happens, which is what we want to do. Okay. So I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard it years ago and I liked it as a metaphor. They say that if you have like a little goldfish in a bowl and they swim in the bowl and swim in the bowl, if you dump that goldfish into a tub of water to clean their bowl or whatever, that fish will continue to swim in the size of the bowl. Now, is that true? I don't know, but we're going to go with it because we do the same thing until we realize that there is a need for change, which, by the way, with program, right, we came on our knees. So we completely get there's a need for change. I've got to stop drinking, stop overeating, stop whatever it is that I'm doing, right? We come on our knees to program. So the idea is I recognize that, but those patterns are still there, right? As a matter of fact, one of the teachers says that our patterns are almost immortal, right? They just basically live on. So what I want to talk about now and go over now is what I called in the initial video, the lie that we live under. But in one of my Enneagram teachers, right? And basically, here's the question that we ask. If you believe that this lie is true, and I'm going to cover the lies here in a minute. If you believe that this is true, can you relax into the possibility that it's a lie? And if you believe it's a lie, why do you believe it's a lie? What has happened that made you believe it's a lie? And what I want to talk about, right, is I'm going to soften this a little bit because I really want it to be, because it's a lie. It sounds like it's something we're doing, and it's not. It's these immortal patterns that are there. So let's explore what we misunderstood about life. It isn't a lie that I'm telling myself. It's just that I misunderstood the way the world works. So if you believe that this is true, and I'm going to cover them one at a time, if you believe that this is true, can you relax into the possibility that you misunderstood this? It really doesn't work this way. And if you believe that you misunderstood it, what has happened that made you believe that you misunderstood it? This will make more sense when you actually go into that. But I think it's super important to make this realization. This misunderstanding feels like it is a heart center issue. It feels like feelings, but actually it is a head center issue. It is a thought. It is the story that you're telling yourself about this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the actual slide for each of the types, and we're going to talk about this. And okay, so, and once again, I covered as part of that big, when I introduced the little characters, there's in the black is this, I should be perfect and life should be perfect for the one. And what I want to talk about is what is the cognitive error that happens there. So I later on in later, probably maybe session 9, I talk again about the lie. But here, what I want to do, because I want to give you time to really think about it, because this is a cognitive error. All right. So the lie that they live under, or the thing that they misunderstood, is the belief that I should be perfect and life should be perfect. And the cognitive error comes from the fact that they identify too much with the superego. So there's the id, ego, and superego. The superego is, I think in ACA terms, they would call that the critical parent. There's that part of them that is that, and they think it's them, right? That's the problem with our personalities, is we think we are our personality and we're not. So what happens here is that belief that I should be perfect, life should be perfect, everything should be perfect, even though it feels, it is a cognitive, a thinking error. It's a story that you're telling yourself. So once again, and the problem is that they identify too much with the critical part of their head center. That's what this is. If you are a one, jot that down. That is the crux of the issue. And once again, this is why it's tricky, because it feels like a feeling and it's not. It's a story you're telling yourself. Okay, so number two, the twos feel like if I give enough, I will be loved. And their cognitive error is that their value is based on seeing positive responses from other people. And it isn't even the responses from other people, it's their ability to see the responses from other people. I've said before that twos don't hear the thank you, they don't hear the I love yous, right? I mean, it isn't always this case, but the closer you are to that passion, you don't hear the thank you, right? So if your value comes from the fact that you hear the thank you, that you basically hear the I love you, or you see the action that shows that somebody loves you. If you can't see that, and your view of yourself comes from the fact that you can't see that, see how it's a thinking thing? This is the story that you tell yourself. So the cognitive error comes because your value is based on seeing positive results from other people. Okay, for the three, if I seem successful, I will be happy. Their cognitive error is that their value is based on their performance, which can never be perfect, can never be absolutely awesome every minute of the day. But that comes from that. And then their external image. So it's super important that their image be sterling, that it be sharp and wonderful, right? So if they seem successful, they're good, but basically their value is based on something completely external. By the way, the threes are the only ones that are very, very different depending upon the society, the culture that they live in. Everybody else, eights show up as eights almost everywhere, all of this, but the threes will look very different depending upon what culture they're in, because they adapt to the culture because they want an external image of success. So I thought that was very fascinating. Okay, the four, I am unique and people need to know that. Okay, here is what happened. This is the cognitive error of the four. And Melissa, this ties back to something that you said earlier. They identify too much with their emotional states because they don't realize this too shall pass. Do you see how that is a story that you tell yourself? If you don't believe it will pass, but you basically give sway to those emotional states, because they have very strong, fours have very strong emotional states. They have very strong emotions, right? But it isn't the strong emotions that's a problem. It's the belief that this will stay, that I am this. So if you can somehow embrace that this too shall pass, which is usually, right, that is telling yourself that story is what gives you the ability to put it in the boat and let it float away, that we talked about earlier. Okay, for the type five, knowledge is the answer to everything. Their cognitive error is that they believe that they can experience or understand merely by witnessing things, not being involved in it. They're the observer, right? And they believe that they can get experience even when they're just a witness. And it doesn't work that way. It's not the way life works, right? So yeah, I can't wait to see the growth of the fives. Those are wonderful. All right, the type six, this one was confusing to me, but I think I can explain it. People are untrustworthy and I must keep myself safe. That is that deep fear that has the fear, afraid of being afraid of being afraid, right? That depth of the six. And what happens with the six is they not only do they think I need to trust myself, but then they'll go outside of themselves to get guidance, to get opinions on how they can keep themselves safe instead of just trusting themselves, right? So they basically, even though that's one of the reasons it makes it, sixes are very confusing to other people, or at least in the Enneagram as we're describing them, because it seems like they would be, okay, I only trust myself, but they go outside to get information that they're going to use to be able to do that. I thought that was a fascinating thing. So if you're a six and you see this, I'd love to hear your thoughts. As a matter of fact, I'd love to hear the thoughts on all these people, from all of them. Okay, for the type seven, this doesn't satisfy me, but more will satisfy me, right? That's a seven, Cheryl H. This doesn't satisfy, but more will satisfy me. Okay. And that cognitive error is they constantly live in anticipation of a better future. So instead of being present, think about it. They see whatever, right? Those threes, that third part of transformation is presence. Sevens, it is very difficult for them to be present because they're always looking to an anticipation of a better future, even if it's good right now. Look how cool it can be tomorrow. Look how cool it can be in 10 minutes from now. Look how cool it can be in the future. Right. And once again, it feels like it's a feeling, but it's actually a thinking error. It's an actual cognitive error. All right. The type 8, I must be strong and in charge to be complete. And their cognitive error is they are constantly working against something or someone. I can tell you as an 8, I ran into something this week because I'm like growing, it's all changing. And then suddenly I came right up against something because I did not have anything to be against. So I created a fight with my husband, who completely did not deserve it, but I needed something to be against, right? And I would drop down in levels, and here I am. Oh, so frustrating, right? And then I'm like, Cheryl, guess what? Right? This is the cognitive error of the 8. You have some work to do. Isn't that nice to know? I've got some work to do. Okay. And then the 9 lives under the belief that there is no harm in delaying things, that there is no harm to doing that. And the cognitive error is that their peace of mind, they get peace of mind by disengaging from their instincts and reality. So they will disengage. And that is tied to the fact that they are willing. And once again, sloth isn't laziness. What the sloth means for the 9 is that they really see that they do not see that there is any harm in delaying things. It's better if it's delayed. But the problem is, right, what'll happen is in delaying it, they will completely disengage from their instincts and reality. They will completely disengage because there is harm sometimes in delaying things, but they don't see it, right? That's a blind spot for very many 9s. Okay, so now let's go back to the correct, it is 48. And I am back to this guy. All right, so we are now going to share on this topic.
Thanks for recovering with us.